How We Got Here Part 2. I said I was going to come back on once I was able to streamline this. I want this video to be a short one and a sweet one. So bear with me. You will hear background noise as I am outside scanning the environment. So bear with me. Hold on. I'm going to get into it as I know the karmics are first. So the first person that's on the video is possibly my main betrayer. And they are honking to give each other's cues. I have figured out this game a long time ago. Okay, short and sweet. This is how my son and I got here. And here being the land in which we have landed in Compton, California. Okay, how this came to be. We were in the Inland Empire, which is where my son was raised. We were in, San Bernardino County. I'm going to say we were in the San Bernardino County. We were, hold on, I got to look at something here. Okay. We were in San Bernardino County, which is where he was raised. Okay. And it was synchronized that as they played with us with resources and vouchers and programs and all this bullshit, I dealt with Inland Regional, which did not provide any real support, which did not show any real effort to want to assist my son in the best way possible. They, in my humble opinion, were really possibly involved with trying to separate my son from me. Okay, basically taking advantage of the situation so that I would essentially feel forced to have to let them place him somewhere with some strange mofos after he had already been traumatized and lost so much. They were essentially, because they serve the consumer. Even though there are always creative ways, which most of these crooked people are full well of it, but for whatever reason, when it came to my son and I, then they had no intelligence, no creativity to properly assist in a way that would honor him and me. Now, as I mentioned before, I had reached out to several people in this entire process. I was working all of the programs. These people had me calling all over the counties and cities, playing games with me, had me contacting one resource after the next, under the guise of help. Okay, this is how they get people to make the target look crazy. We're trying to help you. We're trying to serve you. This is the process. This is the process. Everything is a process. While they intentionally misdirected, misguided, confused information, that had nothing to do with the process. That had everything to do with their intentions. So my son and I had ran out of money. And we found ourselves at the Redlands Library, and I was trying to seek help as well as some forms so that I could file charges, which I am. Now it's coming to Compton. Because when you file, it's where you're at. And now I'm going to take advantage of the situation. So they just help themselves get a charge. They help themselves. Their little fusion centers and all those things, they just help themselves get a charge. Now, I'd called everybody. I called church people. I'd called church folks that I was once in church with that I didn't have any fallings out with, okay, that were decent folks. I reached out to essentially anyone. I was trying to find folks who, you know, that I thought was not altogether fucked up, okay? And so, as the crunch time came, we were at a location where we were given 4 days or 5 days in a program that it was another nonprofit organization, but it was for women. The people, the Redlands Outreach Team, homeless outreach team leader, Emma and her people, were the ones that came to pick us up, okay, from Redlands Library. They came to pick us up from Redlands Library. And listen, as I am telling you all this story, I'm in the alleyway of where me and my son are located. And as typical, we have people that start to creep their way up and down this alleyway. Okay. Some of it is normal and some of it isn't, just for shits and giggles to let you all know that. Now, so Emma, which was the head of the outreach team in the city of Redlands, which was called by the Redlands Library people, because my son and I and our belongings was outside of the library as we were in the library, basically trying to, you know, research and utilize resources. Okay. That was a hoax. They picked us up. They did their little cult mudra signal. They were trying to convince, you know, me to basically leave all our stuff. They said that it'll be easier to find us somewhere if we would be willing to let go of all of our stuff. That was a red flag right there. Okay. Then, as they continue to talk about programs and what I should do and all of this stuff, and I needed to go check into being my son's official caretaker and all of that. Well, newsflash, one of the rules is you have to have your own place. You can't be homeless or in a shelter if you're going to do that. Okay. But anywho, that's another video. So they picked me up, you know, they made this whole big deal of it. Many of these cult members, you know, were coming, mocking, laughing, taking pictures of the whole thing when my son and I were at this library. Then, okay, they picked us up. They're like, okay, we be back. We found a location. It's a temporary one. We're going to get you somewhere so you and your son is not on the street. Could they have given us a voucher? They could have. They could have done that while they, you know, set up something. They could have, but they didn't. Okay? They didn't. They come to pick me and my adult disabled son. They come to pick us up and they take us to this nonprofit for women. The reason why I'm not sharing the name of the nonprofit for women, because I have no interest in hurting the population in which they serve. Okay. But I'm going to say it's a nonprofit that is for women, and this is all religious Christian based. Okay. That serves, you know, women that, you know, were in prison, have addictions and different issues. Okay. They said, you know, on the way there, they did this. As me and my son is in the car, they got us to agree to go and got our belongings in their truck. And as we are in the vehicle, the driver then says, we thought we had, you know, as they got us in and started moving, oh, we thought we had a spot for you, but they comes to find out they're not ready. Did you want us to just drop you off somewhere? Okay. What was that to do? To create upset, to create irritation, to create fear, to create worry, agitation, stress, because that was bullshit. And then 2 seconds later, they said they got the message, said, oh, it's okay. They said, you know, you can come, blah, blah, blah. So we came, they took us to this place. Once again, it was in an isolated, every time they're manufacturing something, is always in some kind of a country bumpkin, isolated, colonized, limited area where they can conceal and monitor more easily, where they have more footing with the leadership and the authority to do what they do. It's always that. And someplace in isolation that's harder for my son and me to do certain things. They knew I didn't have a car. They knew I didn't have any resources. What the fuck was I fencing to do right over there? They knew that. Okay. So they took us to Fontana, where we were given 4 to 5 days to either some of these resources to find some kind of interim housing for us, where I worked with this lady and on my own, calling for hours on the phone, calling one shelter, one location, one place after the next, for hours, for days, calling, talking to people in circles. Okay. This happened for the entire time. And everybody's talking in circles. Everybody's got the same list of trash resources that don't go nowhere. Everybody's taking up my energy and time to sit up on the phones 30 minutes, an hour each with shit that don't go anywhere. All the while, then the house mom, okay, switched up on me and then tried to twist it up like I was something wrong with me. Walking in the back door, chanting shit by the door where we were sleeping. Being weird because maybe they were hired to be weird. Okay. Then every time that I would move there, the neighborhood Karens, the neighborhood racist, would call the owner of the 501c in Fontana where I was staying, as if I was doing something wrong. I'm outside, I'm getting fresh air, I'm walking, I'm doing yoga, I'm stretching. Those are basically the things. And having her to call me like I'm doing something wrong. Okay, this is what happened in Fontana, what was orchestrated by Emma, the Redland City outreach team leaders. All of these people work with the coordinated entry system for the homeless. They all work with the coordinated entry systems for the homeless. Okay. So I still work through that. Okay, there were cameras in the home, and that was so that they can illegally basically surveil and monitor my son and I's movement. As I'm recording this video, some of the same vehicles that I have gotten proof that have been following me have just passed by. Do I have proof? Yes, I do. namely them Teslas that look like it's a square box, weird shape looking. Okay. And they're coordinating to have several people just so happen to be coming down there. Because I'm outside, and I did this for a reason too. The people where I'm staying, they keep moving oddly and weirdly, like I'm not picking all that up. But let me stay focused on what this is. So in Fontana, after all these things happen, as this car is moving slowly like they're watching me, this silver Altima, coming down the alleyway and going slow and moving slow. This is all their little doing. This is as much as parasitic loose they're going to get for a little while. Now, so I did all of that. I liked that program there. It was something I felt like is beautiful for people, but unfortunately tainted by fucked up people. That's the unfortunate part. I was using essential oils to, spray, the bathroom, when I use it, and, just different things like that, clean. And that was made an issue of. And all these various places, they use industrial solvents in cleaning that is actually poisonous and toxic, that can actually kill you and hurt you. But my essential oils, my essential oil spray was some that was kind of frowned upon, like, yeah, that's too strong, it's strong. But we use Lysol, Pine-Sol, bleach, actual poisonous substances to clean and to spray every day. So that's what happened there. We worked through that, as I saw that for what it was. But the cameras through there, all of that, so they can watch me parent my child, my son, so that they can have access and knowledge to what's triggering him, what's not triggering him, what's triggering me, so they can basically look at shit they don't have no business looking at under the guise of this is a program and we have to have surveillance and monitoring, because, mind you, the program wasn't up and operating yet. There was no other occupants or participants yet other than the house mom. Okay. So I make all these calls. I ended up calling one of the ladies that I went to church with. I'm giving you all the story of how we got here, so you all can link the people. I called one of the ladies that I went to church with a trillion years ago. We did ministry together. Her and I we didn't have any issues. We didn't have any fallouts. There was, not to my remembrance. Okay. Now, maybe unbeknownst to me, she was one of many that have been seeing me on social media and having an issue with it. Okay. Unbeknownst to me. Because people I'm finding out have gotten very weird all behind social media. They want to be the queen bee. They want to be, the one. They feel some kind of way. And so I, for whatever reason, bothered these people. And mainly on the religious side, it was because I was in spirituality and I was, open to other things. Now, I reached out to her. She didn't respond right away, I don't think, or I spoke with her. She didn't mention anything about social media. I didn't mention anything about social media. I called just to call a person, a human, to talk to a person, a human in which I had had a history with. And I was basing things just based on that. A human being whom I knew. Okay. To see if they would be willing to help in some kind of way if they could. So I reached out to one of the ladies that I went to church with. This is someone I went to the Way World Outreach with in San Bernardino, California. Okay. She was someone, they were on the praise team. She was one of the lead singers back in the day. Okay. Back in the day. But she was a person, I didn't have any problems with. And she was kind to me. And so I was appealing to people's humanity, hoping that that's where we would meet. And that's where it'll end. That would be the whole of it, not some weird ass agenda. Okay. So, we talked and she did what I anticipated that she would do, because I remembered her personality and I anticipated that she was going to, do the preachy thing. I anticipated that she was going to want to pray and, all those things. And so I'd already told myself, I'll allow it. Because this right here is not the time to debate spirituality versus religion. That's not my intention. It's not my purpose. I'm calling to connect to a human to see if they care and if they have any means to assist, period. So, she was like, well, she gave me some information about her story and what helped her, years ago, and when she was in a homeless situation, and told me to check out those places and blase, which turned out to not be having nothing going on. And it could very well be because it was a long time ago. They trying hard, but this is still gonna get told. They can send everybody they wish. This is still gonna get told. They can V2K the fuck out of everybody they wish. Q. Anywho. So, she was like, well, keep me posted. I'm going to see what I can do. I was like, well, could you, I originally reached out to her just for a ride to find somewhere to store our belongings, and originally that's what I reached out to her for. And if I found a place, of course, if she would be able to, or if she even knew of someone who may be able to transport us to wherever we were going next. Okay. And in the interim, as I spoke with her, and she ended up telling me, hey, if you find somewhere, I'm your girl. If anything opens up, I can get you and your son there. Let me know. Blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay, cool. And I said, well, I may have something in this area, in that area, so that you know in advance. Okay. Because again, if she was going to be helping, I didn't want to spring it on her, and I didn't want to be all over the country. It's like, this is where we're going. Is this feasible? Can you do that? Okay. So I called these other places that was possibilities. And then they started getting into confusion or not responding. When you're on a time crunch, when you have to be out somewhere, it's imperative. And a lot of these people I had been communicative with, well in advance. So this is really also speaking into the games under the guise of process and program. Okay. Then I called someone that I grew up with. Now we're getting somewhere. So I'm going to end this one because we're at what, 20? I said I wanted it to be 20, 15, 20 minutes. So I have to end this one at 29. So I caught you all up on what was transpiring at the location prior, the phone calls that was made that was leading to getting me here. When I end this, I'm going to start the next video picking it up on the person that I called that gave me the information to where I'm at now. The person that I called, who they said they had to contact and who they instructed me to contact. How I've got here, and then what happened immediately, the whole process of once that was done, all of the phone calls, the back and forth, the unnecessary delay, because I guarantee you there was a room, but we're not going to get into all of that right now. Okay? All of that, and the events that took place, including the incidents with my son, including the incidents of me sharing the fact that we have been stalked and harassed and was no longer safe, and me trying to get assistance with getting something else, what's been going on with that, including the incidents with the resources to, get transported places, and what's been going on with all of that. Including the fact that we got ill immediately the first day. Including, as I communicated the issues that were arising, the responses I got and that I didn't get. Including the individual that gave me the information to start, how the days where I would walk places and it was, during different times, suddenly they were calling, asking me if I was still here. Somebody who did not even want to help assist with getting me transported here. See how it looked like they wanted to help? This is a person that could have. We're not talking about a person that's broke as a joke or that didn't have the means or resources, even if it was just via a connection. They did not do that. They wanted an already stressed out person with their disabled man-child, rain man-child, to be stressed about even more shit. The situation did not go down as honorably as you would have thought. When you think somebody is calling in a favor or have some kind of a connection to a resource, you automatically, connotate that, it's going to be something done with delicate honor because of the connection. They're going to have something set up already. They're going to get ahead of it so that it's as smooth, kind, and compassionate and empathetic as possible. But that's not what took place. That is not what took place. We'll also discuss how there was one issue after the next from the gate. And I was made, or it appeared, and I felt like I was made to look like I was just being a bitch and a problem. because, well, we couldn't get the TV working. Well, nobody seemed to know how to do it. They didn't want to share the remote. They didn't want. It was just one thing after the next. There was no dresser. I was told from the beginning, and I had to continue on about that, and still didn't get it until here recently. But also responsible, you're looked at, you're dinged. They are definitely monitoring you if you're not cleaning and tidy and orderly and those things. So in the next video, we're going to share that, because this was also a setup. But this setup is the setup that's going to take them out.